very wealthy families, and we're enjoying things. And I said, I got to come up with something to change this. So I started working as a bouncer at nightclubs and started bouncing like 4 nights a week. And I used to get $40 a night. So again, not big money by any stretch. And after a while, I just couldn't take it and beat up week after week. I got in a kind of a famous fight with The Rock. So a lot of people know about that story. And then finally, my bouncing career came to an end, and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost. Didn't really have any direction. No one really told me anything. And then just out of the blue, there were some kids that I went to school with, and they told me they had an idea. They're from South America, and I thought the idea was kind of interesting about importing and exporting products and stuff like that. And we started basically exporting construction equipment to developing countries in South America. And it started going good. We started making some money, and I kind of got a taste of it. And then once I got that taste, there was really no turning back from it. To the point where I wanted to see how could I do more. How could I do more of this? And that basically brought us to the cell phone accessory industry that we got into. And that was, again, out of frustration. There was one day I was in my apartment, and I grabbed my cell phone and I threw it against the wall, and it just smashed it to pieces. And it went everywhere. And I was like, wow, this is a big problem. There was some high-tech battery with some green special liquid in there, probably powering this thing. And how am I going to fix this? And the batteries at the time were really expensive. So when I went to pick up the phone, I was kind of in shock because I saw that it was basically 8 AAA batteries that were just rechargeable. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Just AAA batteries. They charge $150 for these cell phone batteries. And back then, they used to use NiCad batteries, basically. And the problem with them was they would basically drain out after 6 months. So every 6 months, you just have to buy a battery, spend $150, and get a new one. So it was like an ongoing expense. So I said, all right, there has to be a better way. And we contacted some guys in China that had a factory, and we sent them some samples. And they sent us the batteries back, and I asked them, how much they were going to be. I was thinking maybe they'd be like $50 or something like that. And I think they were like $4.36, like soup to nuts, packaging, the plastic, mailed to us, like you name it. And I was like, wow, there's an opportunity here. And these are $4, and people are getting $150. So I said, all right, what's going to be the lowest hanging fruit to get traction on this business? And I realized that instead of competing in the U.S., where there's a proliferation of companies that were selling these, and mom and pop stores, it wasn't like today we have AT&T and Verizon. It was all fragmented with different companies. Little mom and pop would have 10 stores, another chain of 5 stores. So we said, let's try doing this in South America. And one thing led to another again, and we started selling them for half the price. Cell phones were just taking off in South America, so it was the perfect timing, which is always important in business. And we got into car adapters, we got into chargers, we got into everything. And we were doing really well. We were making real money. And I was like a 19, 20-year-old kid. And what I was making in a month, my dad would have to work maybe 2 years to make. So it was a kind of a detachment from my family. They couldn't really understand the life I was living versus the life they were living. And being a young guy, I made a lot of mistakes. And I could be making $80,000 a month, and I was spending $100,000 a month. Which sounds crazy. This is 25 years ago, and I just felt that it was never going to end. And I was so confident that I was like, wow, if I'm at this age making this, what am I going to make when I'm 25? And I felt that as long as I made good decisions, everything would just go up like in a straight line. And I was like, how could someone stop me? Just so intelligent, so smart, so well thought out. And then I'll never forget, there was one night where I got a phone call from Venezuela. It was one of my guys down there that worked down there, and they said, listen, we got a huge problem. I'm like, okay, what's the deal? Shipment didn't come, something got lost, whatever. And they're like, no, there's been a coup d'etat in the government. And I was like, what? I'm like, what are you guys talking about? He kept saying it, and I was like, listen, let's talk tomorrow, because I don't really understand what you're saying. I never heard of such a thing. So the next day he tells me, he's like, yeah, he's like, one of the generals, General Chavez, overthrew the Venezuelan government. Basically, the army took control of the country. And I was like, all right, that's not my problem. We live in the U.S., we have a constitution, we have all our stuff, which is really cool. I'm not going to be affected. Little did I realize that we were affected, because one of the things that happened was inflation was about 45%, which is, you can't even imagine that in the U.S. And then Chavez came in and said that no one could take more than $10,000 out of their bank account. So that basically shut down our business. And here's me now, living the life on South Beach and going to nightclubs and doing all these things and spending, 100 grand a month. And all of a sudden, boom, all that money just dried up like instantaneously. And I literally had no cash, no money. And we realized that we were gonna have to take a trip down there and try to figure out, how we're gonna solve the situation. And we went down there and we talked with the bankers, and basically the banker wanted a bribe of $300,000. And that was a lot of money back then in cash. And one way or another, we scraped that money together, and we gave it to him, and we ended up taking a small amount back. And it taught me an incredible lesson about always understanding that no matter how good things are right now, doesn't mean they're going to be that way tomorrow or the next day. Because life is a gift, and that gift can be taken away instantly, very quickly. So I always kept that in the back of my mind ever since we did businesses after that. Because I always say all the time, you learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from the successes. Everybody has success and it's great, whatever. But the true way to learn is learning through your failures and learning why you failed and how that happened and what you could do in the future to prevent it from happening again. So that's kind of how I got started, basically.
So what's the biggest lesson that you learned from that failure?
Don't spend all your money. Don't spend all your money. Always prepare for a rainy day, because it's gonna rain. In South Florida we get hurricanes, so you're gonna get a hurricane too. I've seen a lot of guys that I'm friends with. I've been fortunate to be friends with super successful guys. Some guys are billionaires, and there's times in their career when a storm just hits, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not your fault. It's something unexpected, something you can't control. And the guys that make it through those storms are the ones that are prepared for it. So I think it's so essential to be prepared for those adversities, because it's only a matter of time until they come. It's not going to be sunny every day. The weather's never perfect. And even down here we see it. Yeah, we have a lot of good weather, but Hurricane Andrew comes and that changes the whole game. So that was a good learning lesson.
When I saw about your companies, you're more diversified now.
Definitely. Yeah, no, we learned that you can never have one source of income. I learned that the hard way. Because that source of income could evaporate overnight. And then what do you do? So we've always been adamant to have at least 2 or 3 sources of income, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the business world, whether it's with politics, it could be geopolitical, it could be the stock market, it could be a terrorist attack. You just don't know. So if you're really dependent upon one source, eventually you're going to run into a hardship. So we always felt that we'd have a competitive advantage if we had multiple sources of income, always kind of feeding that engine. So if one kind of tip off a little or wasn't so strong, we could depend upon the other ones.
Well, you know that the Hoffman report reported a couple months ago that Miami, when they did the study, they said South Florida, but they really based it on Miami because they counted Chewy, and magically in that, Chewy's not in Miami, it's in Broward County. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs down there that are doing startups. What are some of the things that you could suggest that could cultivate startups in this environment that we have?
I think Miami does a great job with startups. It's incredible. I think I was reading that we're one of the top cities in the country for initiating startups. So I think we do a great job with that. There's great opportunity, and I think the part that we really struggle with is basically growing those startups, scaling them, and then having a liquidity event. And I attribute a lot of that to is I don't think we have the specialized knowledge and expertise. We're saying San Francisco, I go to San Francisco every year, and we'll see guys that have already done it, they've cashed out, they're kind of living the good life, but then they'll come back and re-engage with a young entrepreneur and say, hey, listen, I've been through this, I've done this, you got to readjust there, you got to recalibrate and move to the side or move to the left or pivot or things like that. And that is so important when you have a startup, because you can never plan how things are going to go, and we've talked about this, that whenever we start a company, we look at it as a book, that we're writing a book. And we say, okay, let's write the first chapter and let's write the conclusion, and then let's be completely fluid for the rest of the chapters, because we don't know how it's going to go. And a lot of young entrepreneurs, they'll put their business plan together and they'll write this 20-chapter book, and they'll have every chapter like so precise. But then when reality sets in and things don't materialize the way they envision it, a lot of times that basically is their downfall, and that just puts them in the grave, so to speak. So I think having that ecosystem of professional entrepreneurs that have actually done it would help Miami immensely. And a lot of times too, we see a lot of times guys will impress me. They'll say, hey, I have this new company, and look who I have on the board, look who my advisors are. And they'll have superstar guys on the board, like superstar, like really famous guys that you would know. But then I'll ask them the question, I'll be like, wow, this is kind of interesting. Like, I didn't know that person was in your industry. And he's like, oh no, he's not in my industry. He's in telecommunications. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, what about this guy? He's like, oh no, he's in construction. So I asked him, like, how do you have people advising you that have never been in your shoes before? How could they give you that advice if they've never actually done what you're trying to do? And the example I give people is, if you graduate medical school and you want to be a cardiologist, let's say, and you want to study the heart, would you hire a construction owner or a guy that works construction to give you advice on how to be the best cardiologist? No, of course you wouldn't do that. You would seek out the best cardiologist in your field that's been doing it for 30 years, that's been recognized, that graduated medical school just like you, and did every step that you're going to be taking and knows the different turns and the different twists, because he could guide you, because he has that specialized knowledge to give to you. So that's one of the big mistakes I see is, if you're going to have people helping you, don't hire a guy that's an executive at IBM that has experience in maintaining a $50 billion business but's never started a hot dog stand. Because he's not going to be a good fit. Now, when your business gets to the point where you're doing $50 billion in revenue, that guy can help you a lot because he knows how to maintain that business and he knows how to help you, guide you through it. But starting it from scratch, he's probably not going to be able to add the value that you actually need.
Good. Now, entrepreneurs, our biggest challenge is pivoting. We start out with an idea or a concept, and we know it's the best thing since sliced bread. So when is it time to pivot?
All the time. All the time. I mean, why wouldn't you? When we do stuff, I tell the guys all the time, I'm not smart enough to know how this is going to play out. And then my guys look at me and they're like, but you're supposed to be so smart. Like, you're the genius, you're the business guy, you got all the cars, you got this, you get that. And I'm like, no, I'm smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough. And when we make decisions, we base them on evidence, we base them on data, we base it on analyticals, and we let the customer or the market decide what direction we go in. So we're pivoting every single day. And the beauty of that is, the reason why we're able to do that is I never wrote the whole book. I leave the book blank, I leave it open. So when situations come up, we know we can make adjustments. We can recalibrate, we can retreat, and then we can re-engage. And I see a lot of young entrepreneurs, they're just so set in their product or their service, and they think they have in their mind exactly how it should play out, exactly how much they should charge, exactly what the customer should use it for, and then their business isn't successful, and they wonder why. And they'll start making excuses, and they'll blame it on different things, and what have you. Where instead, if they just had an open mind, saying, hey, you know what, let's do a little survey. Let's invite 20 of our customers over. We'll have a little wine and cheese get together and let them answer some questions, and then we'll get the real data of what they're thinking, what's going through their mind, what they think we should be doing, what direction. And then we'll take those facts and that evidence, and then we'll redirect our course of action to make sure it meets that criteria. And I see a big absence of that.
It's customer-centered, right? Asking your customer, building what the customer wants, not so much what you want to sell.
It's because the customer is the boss. The person that buys your products or services, they're running the show. I'm never the boss. So I need to make sure I'm not doing what I think is right. I gotta always do what they want and what they think is right. And sometimes, we have customers that don't want to take the best course of action or buy the best product for them or things like that. And I'll have employees that want to argue, saying, this product's actually better or this service is better. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Give the customers what they want. Even if there is something better, or there is a better solution, give them what they want, and then let them learn on their own that there could be a better solution, because then they'll come back to us, and then we'll sell them even more products. So you got to have kind of a contrarian view on a lot of things. It's different than what they teach you in college and in school. Everyone's always like, oh, give the customer what's best for him, and do what's best for your client, and what's best for the customer. And I think that's a mistake.
When you look at your businesses, how far ahead are you? How far are you ahead of the curve? How many moves ahead do you think?
It's funny because I always tell my guys that if they ever bring me something and they're like, oh, this is a hot market, I tell them no right away before I even listen to it. Because if it's a hot market now, we're already behind in the race. So there's no point in getting into it. So the ideas that I like are the ones that are 5 years ahead. Because typically it takes us 1 or 2 years to get traction, and then there's maybe 1 year that you have to kind of struggle and wait for the market to come to you. And then by year 3, all of a sudden, you have the whole game plan, you have the perfect recipe to bake the cookies, and then you can really take advantage of that. And I mean, there's companies that we've done. Nick's here, Nick knows. We did a company 6 years ago that we wanted to supply customers with private jets, private aviation, and we wanted to do it through your iPhone on an app, and just basically have it that you push buttons and you don't have to talk to anybody. Well, when we came up with the idea, no one took us serious. You know, people basically laughed at us. My family laughed at us. My associates laughed at us. My friends laughed at us. So it was a challenge from that standpoint. But we